Okay, now I have to tell you something. You'll be really proud of me. I do know what our next speaker is talking about today. My introductions have been very bad lately.
I'm glad you do, because I'm not sure I do.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Our next speaker is Tom DeWeese from the American Policy Center, and he's becoming a fixture at Camp American. We almost can't have one without him anymore. But he is going to be talking to you today about this class, property rights. And this is a very important class. All of his classes are, they're all important. But just make sure you listen really well, okay? So, Tom.
All right. Time for morning madness. I'm going to talk about property rights, but I'm going to do it kind of this way. I'm going to talk about freedom, because property ownership and freedom are two inseparable things. And we talk about, you hear the word freedom all the time. Everybody uses freedom. Every side of the political spectrum uses freedom. It's the most overused word in America, or probably in the world. People who advocate oppression use the word freedom. When Fidel Castro took over Cuba, he was a freedom fighter. And, what they were talking about really was it was freedom to take somebody else's property. That's what they were talking about. And so we have to understand what this word freedom is in order to understand what your rights are and why we have those rights and why we have a government that we have in this country versus other countries and so forth. And so we have to understand what freedom is, and then how do you get freedom? The freedom really is your ability to live your life as you choose, a life as of one's own, making decisions for yourself. You all have wants and needs and things that you really care about, and you want to live your life that way. How many of you are planning to go to college? You know, why? Anybody? Why are you planning to go to college? Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to be an officer in the Marines.
So you have a goal, something you want to do. That's a passion that you have. And you don't want me to tell you that you can't do that, do you? Freedom is the choice to decide that. And that's why you have those goals. That's what you want to do with them. Now, we have really in this world, there are two kinds of worlds. We have freedom and prosperity, and we have dictatorships and poverty. They go hand in hand. There really isn't anything else in the world. That's it. Freedom has prosperity, dictatorships that have poverty. You have to ask yourself why that's true. There are people who believe that freedom is chaos, that there is no connection, there's no order to freedom. That all these people, everybody in the world, we got 230 million people or so in this, almost 300 million people in this country, and all of them going off in their own directions. People think that's chaos, and there's no order to it. And there's a very compelling argument to make that have government control our actions, then we have a well-ordered society. We have security. I just came through the airport yesterday, and there was lots of order there. They don't tolerate chaos at the airport. They watch everything you do as you go through the security and to get on the airplane. They don't want you doing individual acts. And a lot of people feel very safe about that. They feel that if they have somebody there in a uniform telling them where they should go, what they should do, that's safety. They're safe to get on that airplane. They feel good about it, and they don't care. They've made this comment: I would rather give up some of my security or some of my freedom if it means I'm going to have security when I fly on the airplane or when I go somewhere else. And people are extending this to all kinds of places. We just went through an economic meltdown from last fall to now. Our economy went in an absolute nosedive. And a lot of people are saying the reason for that is because a free market, free enterprise, is chaos. And that caused it all. And that we needed government to come in and put order into everything. And so we take the chaos out and we put order in. We have freedom versus a collective society. And everything's well ordered. Now, let's talk about, when we talk about freedom, people say, I believe in the principles of freedom. Well, what are the principles of freedom? Well, actually, when you're talking about principles, such as this, principles aren't legislated or invented. Government doesn't pass a law and say, here is freedom. Freedom exists, whether you know it or not. It's kind of like the principles of physics. People for centuries lived in very primitive societies, and they didn't understand anything about science. They were just living. So, but they were still bound by the principles of physics. Two people couldn't fill one space at the same time. You couldn't walk through a closed door. You couldn't leap off the earth because of gravity. It's the principles of physics. They were subjected to them whether they knew it or not. The same thing is true about the principles of freedom. You don't invent them. You don't legislate them. Principles are discovered. And the principles of freedom are there whether you know it or not. And if you have the principles of freedom, if you operate under the principles of freedom, then you have prosperity. You have a society of being able to do and live your life as you choose. There are three principles of freedom. The three principles of freedom are individualism, private property ownership, and free enterprise. If you ignore any one of these, if you leave any one of them out, then you get poverty, stagnation, and political tyranny. Individualism, private property ownership, and free enterprise. Now, if you go through those, individualism is you. It is your personal choices. It is your hopes, your wants, your dreams, living your life as you choose. Private property ownership, we're going to talk quite a bit about that as we get along here. And free enterprise is lots of individuals operating among themselves, selling, buying, creating everything we have in our society. Why is it that the United States of America is the richest nation on earth, and why is it that there is massive poverty throughout the world? One of the main reasons for that, actually the reason for it, is because we have individualism, we have private property ownership, and we have free enterprise, and other countries don't. Let me give you the... when you talk about people who want a collective society, when they want to have that control, what is it that they're looking for? What is their mindset that they want to have the control? If I can find the quote I'm looking for, life is good. Oh, here it is. I put it on top so I'd find it. You may have heard this before, and I've used it here before. This is the mindset of the people who want a collective society, the people who do not want the responsibilities of being individuals, the people who look at all the world as just one big group hug, one big global village. You've heard these terms. See if you recognize this quote. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try, No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Now you may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. I should have had you all do this as I went through, you know. Kumbaya. Yeah. Brotherhood of man. What John Lennon is really saying in that is that you have no possessions whatsoever. You just all live out in the field. There's no roof over your head. You kind of lay there on the ground and graze like a dumb, stupid, fat cow. That's basically what he's saying there. And but these are images. The way they sell this collective society to us is through a lot of images. Images of just love and compassion. And they sell a free society as one of greed and selfishness. And you've seen this today and everywhere we turn. But if you have nobody working, if you have no possessions, if you're all just laying out in the field grazing, who gathers the food? Who puts the roof over your head? Who puts clothes on your back? Who creates the cars so we can have transportation and get somewhere? We're talking about nothing more than just buffalo, walking across the plains, reducing man to that image. What happens in a collective society is that we eliminate choice. We eliminate any kind of risk. We eliminate challenges. We make life pretty boring, frankly. Collective society is anti-individual. Of course, there's no private property rights. There's interference and control by the government. And everything is done for the common good. We have security. We have order. This is the Obama doctrine. The Obama doctrine says, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. What we're talking about is a world of redistribution of wealth, away from this person over to this person. Let me ask you a question. What I'd like you to do, how many of you have, right now, no money in your pockets? Stand up. Those of you who don't have any money. No money. Okay. Now, I happen to know that back here there's a little store with all kinds of goodies in it, candy bars and potato chips and all those kind of things. How do any of you expect to get any of that? Got a plan? Ask Dad. That's the Obama doctrine. Okay. Now, keep standing. Billy, I told you I was going to pick on you. Come up here a second.